Hi, and welcome to Visibility Unlimited and Visibility Unlimited Spotlight, the video portion of the podcast, Visibility Unlimited. I'm Leslie Shear, your host and the owner of the Cavu Group. Today is a social impact interview, and you know those are some of my favorites. This is someone I was about to start stalking. I I saw her. I love her story. I love the work that she's doing. And I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. But before she even tells you her name, I'm going to start, if you don't mind starting the question, I am. But don't tell them what you do yet.
Okay. I am power, I am beauty, and I am energy.
Yes, to all of the above. To all of the above. And now, please introduce yourself and let them know what you do.
Yes, my name is Christa Barfield, and I'm a Black woman farmer, healer, and truth teller. I'm a mother, a daughter, a builder of systems that feed both people and purpose. I began an organization called Farmer Jawn Agriculture in 2020. And what we focus on is really helping people find their power through regenerative, organically grown food.
Okay, now you have to break that down.
I know.
I love all that, but what does that mean?
Yes.
And let people know you're in Philadelphia, correct?
I am. So I'm from Philadelphia, and so I'm a 128-acre working farm, and that is spread across 3 counties in Pennsylvania. We are the largest Black-owned food grower in the state of Pennsylvania as well. And Pennsylvania is pretty big.
Yes.
And so we're in 3 counties, and we have a total of that acreage where we focus on really growing food that starts with healing the soil. And we don't want any chemicals in food. We believe that's not how farming was ever traditionally done. And we're moving us back to the basics of and our roots of all of our lineage to understand that food is meant to be medicine.
All right. So before we get into, because I want to break that down even further as well, you did not start out as a farmer.
No. So I actually am a healthcare professional. I worked in healthcare for 10 years. I in healthcare administration specifically. So the thankless jobs of it in the background, making sure everything runs seamlessly. And I did that for quite a long time. That's what my degree is in. I'm a Philly girl through and through. I went to St. Joe's University as well. So in Philadelphia. So yes, I've managed practices all over the Philadelphia region. And I got to a point where I was like, this is not serving me, which means that I'm not really doing what I need to serve people and serve the planet. And I just took a leap of faith and resigned from my job in 2018, very unexpectedly. And and agriculture found me in another country.
Okay, because that's a big jump. I'm a pivot girl. I will pivot, turn, switch, move. I don't believe there's one thing you can do. I think some of us are called to do many things and we can do them well. But you went from being a healthcare administrator, which is not a thankless job, because if you all mess up, we all are out the game.
It's true.
I just want to say, be nice to your administrators because they're the ones that get you out of trouble and can help you get through the process. I worked at a hospital, so I understand. But you went from that. And did you wake up one morning and just hit farming is where I'm being called? What?
No, so the process of that, so January 2nd, 2018, walk with me here, right? I walk into work and I sit down on my computer. It's a new year. So I'm like, okay, you throw away everything that happened the year before. It's going to be positive, nothing but positive and productivity moving forward. And I sit down, I read an email from my boss. And in that very moment, I started a new thread titled Resignation. And in that moment, I knew that that was not my life any longer. Right. And I gave them the proper 3 weeks notice as a man in management. That's what you do. And the very next day after my last day of work, January 2nd, I quit my job. January 19th, I just so happened to turn 30. And January 22nd, I was on a plane to Martinique to really just allow myself to do something I had never done. I had never traveled out of the country before. I was always, engulfed in being a great worker and a great mother and not ever focusing on me and what it meant to be Christa.
Right.
And so I traveled there alone, and I literally, my Airbnb host just so happened to be farmers. And when I saw what they did, I was like, I don't have a job. I'm going to go home and start a farm.
And I've been to Martinique, and that's not why I came back. I came back saying I want to move there and I want to live on an island, but I did not come back saying I want to start a farm. So you come back home, you say you want to start a farm. Your family here looks at you and says,
oh, you are crazy. You just quit your job. You had a parking spot in Center City. What are you doing with life? Where's your life
that was
going?
the pinnacle. If anyone lives in Philadelphia, a parking spot in Center City is a big deal.
Definitely. And so, to have that lifestyle change, for me, it was like the parking spot wasn't worth the bringing home work at night. It wasn't worth me being absent from my children even after I spent a whole day at work and then still being absent when I got home. It just wasn't worth those things to me. And that's why I knew I needed a shift.
So you come back. How do you start farming in Pennsylvania?
Exactly. Exactly. So that was the journey, was to then figure out, how do you even immerse yourself into becoming a farmer? What does that even mean? Right. And I decided to begin volunteering. I was like, I'll just find some farms and like go volunteer somewhere. And that lasted it was very brief. Because what I realized is that me going to visit a farm to volunteer, they're only going to give you certain things that you're able to do. So it'll be like, you can weed maybe, or you can put these vegetables in bags and weigh them maybe.
Just don't get in the way. Don't be messing up something.
You're meant to, exactly. And so, I recognize now differently how volunteers can sometimes not be helpful. They can be counterproductive. And so you definitely need to have that role that needs to be managed. And so I get it. I understand it. And so when I went to say I want to volunteer, that's exactly what I was doing. Like I said, weeding, packing vegetables in boxes. And I was like, this is not going to help me learn how to be a farmer and run a farm business. That's the other piece.
Did it in the long run?
No. No, I literally quit. I just stopped doing that too. And I was like, I'm just going to go get a piece of land and just start doing this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know seeds, soil, and water and a little bit of sun is how you typically get plants. I understand the process of photosynthesis. So I'm going to take that basic knowledge and I'm going to transfer that to just an understanding of what I've seen and replicate it. So I got some land that I found just rented, and on very small too. I mean, before that I like to say my first farm was a 24 square foot greenhouse in my backyard. Right. Because that was the very first growing opportunity I gave myself to learn if I could do this. And then I found a land of like 1,200 square feet that I was growing vegetables and herbs on. So it really began quite small. And then, 7 years later, here we are on 128 acres.
Right. So it really did start as a social impact. Even though it was a business, you really took it as, this is going to be for healing, whether it's for myself or for others.
It started out about being about me, for sure, which it needed to be.
It has to be, because this has to be a love that's coming from deep within, and a passion and a solitude of peace it has to bring to you. And so then what does social impact mean to you? Because now 7 years later, though it is a thriving business, it's still part of social impact. You are making amazing impact.
It's transformation. It means that we're the bridge between awareness and accountability, not just doing good, but doing right. It's using your influence and your resources and your humanity to make something better for those who will come after you. And I feel like that's my job here, is like recognizing that agriculture especially is very much so an activity that was done amongst families. It was very communal. And if we get back to the history of it in America specifically, Black people were the faces of farming in America. That's what we were brought here for. That's what our bodies were exploited for. And so I am reclaiming that for positivity and for profitability and for sustainability for our ancestors who fought hard for us to even be able to be in this country, and in the fairness that we're still fighting for, to have our fair shot at whatever the American dream is and meant to be. We deserve that, and we deserve to be able to shape that the way we desire. And so if that means getting back to agriculture, getting back to the soil, getting back to the land, I am creating a pathway for that to take place.
And who's on this journey with you? What's your team? Or do you how big is it? How small do you keep it? Because this, again, someone needs to have this passion for some point of this, somewhere in here.
Honestly, my team is amazing, and I couldn't do what I do at the scale that I do it without them. And the team continues to grow every single year as we scale every year, our operations. And so there's this year's team, it was made up of 15 people, where some of those are farmers, some of those are behind the scenes, my administration team, really just like making it all go. But our farmers are made up of, men, women, Black, white, Asian, the list really goes on, Mexican. We are really, really focusing on ensuring that everybody has a face here. And that we are focusing, yes, while we are Black led and while we are woman led, we believe that everybody has a hand in making our food system united.
What was the biggest lesson you learned between getting that piece of land and this 7 years in between? Because that's a lot of growth. That's a lot of something didn't grow, something did grow. Where are you selling it? Are you giving it away? What does that portion look like?
Yes, it's a major. I feel there's a lot of questions in there, and I'd say that the journey has been vast. I've had a lot of highs. I've had a lot of lows as well. And ultimately, what it comes down to is we have great people who are reaching out to us saying we want to buy your produce. So I'm really blessed in that regard. And at the same time, there's a lot of pivoting. I don't know. I mean, like, I love that you say you love pivoting. I now say that there's beauty in the pivot. That's a line that I like to always remind people, that there's always going to be changes that are required. Yes. If you want to stay in this realm of business. You just have to always be nimble. And so I lead Farmer Jawn, really focusing on the regenerative agriculture movement, which puts us in a different category of folks. We're kind of niche now, where we're a regenerative organic farm, where we're reaching towards that certification, and we're almost there. And once we have that, the floodgates will open even more. But we're servicing our area sports teams, we're servicing local country clubs, and we're also working in serving schools. We're also working in serving community groups that reach out to us or come to our farm. So we are ranging all over the place, really, with who our audience is, and we don't necessarily have a target market, right? Because what I'm really wanting to do is close the gap between the food system that is urban and the food system that is rural, and the social economic status that says that only people with money can get regenerative organic food. And it's like, no, I can make it so that everybody can have access to our food regardless of any of that. If you're a human and you need to eat, Farmer Jawn is here to serve you.
And we all need to eat.
Absolutely.
Right? And absolutely. So the throwback was, well, why am I spending 50 cents more for organic when that tomato or potato all looks the same to me? What people don't understand, it's what you said, how you grow it.
Yes. And the way that we take care of our team. So a part of being regenerative, that word means a lot, and it can become a little obscure, but it's not just about how we take care of the land, which is important, and that's our base. But it's also about how we take care of the people that are farming on that land as well. We ensure that people that work at Farmer Jawn are getting paid a living wage. It takes a lot to do that, especially when the market isn't there yet. So like, we're literally anticipating that the market, along with our marketing and our rhetoric, and if I keep telling the proper stories, and people will understand that you have to pay a certain amount in order for me to be able to pay this person that's working very, very hard and not using chemical agriculture to get you your food. So it does matter, and that 50 cents is a game changer.
And I'm glad you said that and you broke it down that way, when I'm working with companies and we're speaking about, well, this one can't get a raise or what's the pay equity. And I say, yes, we have to always look at numbers, bottom numbers. It's a business. I don't care what it is, a church, a farm, a store. At the end of the day, lights have to be on, water has to be there, food has to be there. But people,
Yes.
it's the people that move along with you that are
Absolutely.
executing the vision and that mission have to be taken care of in order for that to come alive. So I really appreciate that that's something that's important to you. And then I hope anyone that's watching this or hear this understand that that 50 cent is a game changer for someone else's life
Mm-hmm.
and well-being.
Indeed.
I want to do a small turn
Okay.
because I couldn't find out much. Your James Beard Award.
Yes.
What was that for?
Yeah, so the James Beard was an Immersion Leader Award. And I love that it was, right? So like being an Immersion leader to an organization like that, or just in this world, it means that people are watching me to see what comes next.
Yes.
And I absolutely, I believe that means there's trust there to say like, we know you got something cooking and we know it's about to be good too.
Exactly.
And so I rise to that occasion and I'm excited. And I remember when I got that award, I remember saying that the battery was already in our back. Like we was already doing this work and now you just gave us the visibility for people to take us seriously in this industry and know that it's not a game over here. Like we are in it.
And you're staying.
And we're staying, not going anywhere.
So I've been watching, clearly there's policies, there's a lot of policies. And I know today they're deciding if they're going to vote on the farmers policy. And so I'm doing twofold in my questions, as you see that I do, because I get so excited. Black farmers and the last, I'm just going to say 2 or 3 months, it's been years, have always felt that they did not receive the same equity or opportunities to really work their land or get those grants or things like that. What does that look like to you? Is this policy going, how is it going to affect you as a farmer, period? Forget color, you as a farmer, and then as a Black farmer.
Yeah, I'll say that, to be honest, I've never really leaned on the government to support my operations. And that's not how I built my business. I built my business on figuring out supply and demand, like the economics of the way the world typically works, how I learned in economics class. That's how I built the business. Somebody wants something, how do you get it to them? Right. And so when we look at agriculture on a large scale, these policies or the lack thereof are really having a major effect on the farming, on big ag, on larger agriculture. But even it does trickle down to Farmer Jawn and farmers that are small and mid-sized like us. And the way that that's happening is, for example, we had a contract with our local food bank, one of the largest food banks in our region, that was rescinded because they lost their funding, the federal funding that they expected. So while Farmer Jawn didn't directly have federal funding, a contract for us through, directly, we did have our customers, again, that supply and demand. I found the customer to supply to. They then lost their ability to have demand because they didn't have the funding. So that's how it impacted us for sure. And that's where the beauty of the pivot this year was front and center, where we had to figure out in March, after we already bought all the seeds, planned for our labor, all the things were done. And then here in March, we find out that, the rug is being pulled. And so the reason why that's even worse, that experience for not just farmers, but farmers of color, Black farmers, is because we're already scraping to get by. So like the same resources that are available to other farms, whether they be white or even more established, are just not available to the smaller or mid-size. We have much smaller market share, even though small family farms or farmers like mine make up about 97% of agriculture in this country, 93% of agriculture in this country is small and medium farms. However, the other 7% is corporate or farms, and they have corporate dollars that back them and support them. And so they actually are feeding more of the country because they just have larger operations.
Right.
And that food that we're receiving is just of a much lower quality. Anywho, it comes down to the fact that, you know, we're already disenfranchised as Black people, and you throw in the fact that there's Black people that still want to be farmers after how this country has treated us, is honestly a gift. Is a gift. It truly is. And the fact that we are getting more people excited, more Black people excited about even just being outdoors. There's so many different movements. It's very important that there's equity in the way that money is disseminated through agriculture, and it needs to make sure that there's a proper market share for Black and brown people.
And that goes straight into my next question. What is the access to get into this field, and what's the education?
Yes. So when I first decided to become a farmer, like I said, I volunteered. However, I had no formal education. And so I was just learning from other farmers, essentially. That's what it became. I had to start to do the work myself. And then when I say learn from other farmers, my community was built by Farmer Jawn emerging. I had to put Farmer Jawn out into the world, into the atmosphere first, for then people to be like, wow, look at her, look at what she's doing. I want to help. Let me reach out and see how I can help. So it wasn't the other way around where I was able to find folks to help me. It came later. So my support, my network literally found me, just like agriculture found me. My network also found me, and I then began to have people to lean on, to ask questions to. There's a Black farmer down near in Georgia, about 2 hours from Atlanta, that I visited. I reached out to him. He was very kind to me in social media, and so I was like, let me reach out to him and see if he'll teach me how to drive a tractor. And I literally took one of my winters. I went down for a few days, and he taught me how to drive a tractor. And then he took me to a tractor dealership so I can also see what it was like to drive a brand new tractor, than ones that were newer than his. So without having put myself out there for people to know who I was on social media, I would have never had that contact. And I still would be likely trying to figure out, where in the world do you learn how to drive a tractor? Because that still does not exist. Right. There are exchange programs through like the land grant universities whose whole job was to teach create farmers in America. Right. They are supposed to have some programs. They're called extensions, but they're very far and few in between. You just can't find them. And there are programs where you can find agricultural schools, because I think that it's becoming cooler now, in a sense, to become a farmer. People are excited about being outdoors, getting their hands in soil, especially this new generation, Gen Z. Like that's their jam. They love being outside and being on farms and interacting in that way. And so there are now more and more opportunities coming to, if you have interest in becoming a farmer and having a farm business. That's the other key part we have to say there, that farmers are businesses. And there's folks here, there's programs here now that can teach you how to do that. So that you're not stumbling along the way like I did.
I know that, urban farmers are the thing. Like in New York, when I was there, I went to a woman in Harlem, and she had this farm in Harlem, and she was teaching kids in the neighborhood. And it was their responsibility, if they came to volunteer to work, that you have to keep this up. And it's your responsibility to teach another kid how to bring them along and learn. And I loved what she was doing as well, because it was, there was a young Black woman, and she said, I would have never put my hands in dirt.
Yes. It's so true.
And she went to college and she studied business because she wants to make it into a business. But she was just like, to come in and to check on what's growing and to test the soil and do all these things. She goes, I found another life I had no idea I could find in New York City.
Yeah.
And I think it is that access to, if it's going to be cool, then cool, let's make it cool.
Yes.
Because we are going to need to go back to farming and to healthier eating.
Absolutely.
And, I look at people that have illness and they say, well, you need to change your diet. And I go, that means you need to cut out. And I'm the worst person. So everyone knows I'm a junk food junkie.
No.
I'm really a candy girl. Give me
okay. Got your treat.
But that you need to have that balance. You need to eat fresh foods. And there can't be an excuse that we can't afford to eat fresh food.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Knowing who your farmer is going to be one of the most important relationships of your life versus who you decide to be a partner with, your life partner. Then it's going to be your farmer, and then it's your physician. That's what I say.
I love that. I would have never thought that. So is that what you want the world to know? That's who you need to know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, really your farmer is going to be that lifeline for you, and your physician, that they're not taught to focus on preventative care. That's not how they're trained. Right. Physicians are not focused on that. So, if we want to be able to minimize our frequencies with physicians, it needs to start with our food.
That is great. I almost want to end it there, but there's so much more. What else would you like to share with those that are watching and listening?
I think that reclaiming agriculture as culture, I have a line that I say agriculture is the culture. And what that means is that, everything that we touch on a daily basis, with the things that we're eating, obviously, but the things we're drinking as well, our water, are the clothes that we have on, the natural fibers that we're wearing and need to get back to wearing natural fibers instead of synthetic, the tables that we're eating on, those real wood, and the cabinets, like, all of that is thank you to a farmer somewhere and during some time frame. And it could be centuries ago that tree that was cut, that's now a table, was there, So I just want people to really focus in on knowing who your farmer is the greatest gift you can give to yourself, to this planet.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I could speak to you all day. I want to come to the farm. I'll be in the way, so I'm not gonna come.
You can definitely come visit. Yes.
Like, please put that down. Get off the tractor. I don't need none of that. Can you please let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on our Instagram. It is Farmer Jawn, and it's JAWN_. And you can go to our website as well, which is www.farmerjawn.co.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Yes, Leslie, it's great.
Everyone, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. As you know, I'm Leslie Short, your host. You can find the recordings on all of your listening channels for podcasts and the video on the Cavu Group YouTube channel. Looking forward to seeing everyone or speaking to everyone very soon. Thanks again, Christa.
Thank you.